Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about when you're addicted to the closure that they'll never give you.
What could we mean by that?
Well, we really get stuck after a breakup on kind of where things ended, and we can get consumed with the last things we said to them, the last conversations we had, or maybe some kind of argument, whatever it might be. And we just get stuck there and we feel like we have to do something about it. Mm-hmm. We don't want it to end there. And it's understandable, but a lot of times it just makes the situation messier because, I've seen people want to reach out and explain things, and the ex is like, we broke up like months ago. Why are you saying this to me? Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful about things like that, because many times we do it at a time where our ex doesn't want to talk to us about the breakup anymore. Mm-hmm. In that moment, they're kind of over it. Mm-hmm. And so now it feels intrusive and annoying and like bad timing.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of times you're thinking when you're wanting this closure that you just want answers, but it's not true. You want a very specific answer and you want them to say it.
And it's usually, are you ever going to come back?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so it can be very narrow-minded to be thinking and wanting a specific response from your ex, and you're not actually open to the many responses that they could give you, or open to actually what's happening right now in the moment. Mm-hmm. If they haven't reached out and they had ended the relationship and they are not showing you that they're interested in repairing, we have to accept that situation for what it is now. A lot of times pressing for closure, there's always this secret agenda in the background of, I think I want to reopen a door, or I want them to see me and maybe that will spark feelings, or I want to see if maybe in conversation I can convince them or something will happen. A lot of times when we're talking about closure, I see many of you replaying different scenarios in your mind over and over and over again with all of these different outcomes, and somehow on the other end of it, your anxiety is better. When in reality, dealing with the uncertainty and not having that closure and building up your strength to manage that anxiety is ultimately what's going to lead you to some relief. So this can be a challenge, and they can't give you what they don't have, right? A lot of times exes won't even be giving you clear answers to the questions you have.
That's a good point, because especially if it's like, do you see us ever working things out? Do you see us ever getting back together? Their answer in that moment might be no, but like I said, or say all the time, feelings change. And so sometimes they say no and they mean it in that moment. Sometimes they say, I don't know. Sometimes they say, I think we should talk in 6 months. And so when you force them to give you an answer, you're really only getting an answer on how they're feeling in that moment. I guess it'd be like if you're at a restaurant and you're waiting for your food, and you're like, you ask the waitress, how long till the food is ready? Well, that answer would change depending upon when you ask her, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that with your ex. Depending upon when you ask them that question, you're going to get an answer that you may not want to hear. So I would rather not push for that certainty that you want from that definite answer, because it's probably going to be the answer you don't want to hear, because they're not wanting to repair things right now.
Oh, yeah. And I would even argue that an answer to a forced question could be very different than somebody freely giving you that information. Meaning sometimes when you try to ask somebody something over and over and over again and try to squeeze an answer out of them, it might not even be the truth compared to if they are telling you out of their own free will because they want you to know that information.
That's very true.
So in some situations, some of you will ask, well, I really want to know this about my ex. And what if, if I see them again, or I text them and I just ask them? You have to consider at this point, you are exes now. And there can be, maybe it's not outright deception, but it can be this veil of, I don't want to have this deeper conversation, so I'm going to present this other answer that's easier to say in this moment. So you have to consider that as well. Sometimes we are dying for closure and we want them to say the right thing, And we have to be realistic with ourselves and kind of let go of this illusion of closure.
Yeah, and you can get really stuck on it where many of you will get consumed with the belief that if I have this conversation or we just talk one more time, you're going to get the answers and feel better. But I can assure you, many times when you do, you don't feel better, you feel worse. And it doesn't make you stop thinking about the situation like you thought it would.
And I'll say in some situations, exes won't give you clarity because they might be feeling ambiguous too. So maybe you are getting some kind of mixed message from your ex, so you try to have this closure conversation with them, and then they don't really give you clear answers. They're just all kind of vague. Like if you ask, well, do you want to get back together? Well, I've been thinking about it, but this and that. And so, okay, you're like, is it a yes? Is it a no? I need something clear here to work with. So we want to tell you that can also happen and prepare yourself for that. A lot of times we're looking for closure, for clarity on how to move forward. And we might not be getting that from somebody who's ambivalent. Something I always say is just because somebody else is ambivalent and unable to make a decision doesn't mean that we have to stay stuck and not make a decision ourselves.
That's
a lot of
right.
times we will feel the need to almost mirror what our ex is doing. Well, if they're ambivalent, then I also have to be ready. And, what if it turns into a yes? Blah, blah. But if you're getting ambivalence for a long time and you're just getting that sense of, man, I just need to be able to get to this next step in life. I want to be able to know what direction to go in. You don't have to wait on anyone else. I know it's nice to have this illusion of having like the door open. And, we always say the place that would be healthiest to be in is not one where if you do want to repair things with your ex where, you're either swearing them off forever or just like hopelessly obsessed with them, but in a place to where you can be open to other options. And if things turn around with your ex, you could be open to that too. So that would be ideal.
Absolutely.
So it can be tricky in dealing with closure because many of you don't really even want closure from your ex. And so you try to force this closure conversation and you end up not getting what you want. You don't get the clarity. And then if it does end up in them almost reinforcing the breakup, you end up feeling worse. So we really talk about working through your own emotions during this time and be able to make a decision for yourself regardless of what your ex is doing.
Absolutely. It's not easy, but the more you process and put words to it, the better you're going to be able to do that for yourself. A huge part of working through the creative healing course is being able to answer those things and getting to a place where you're not looking for answers from other people all the time, that you're getting so confident within yourself that you're able to handle the uncertainty, which is where most people fail in relationships. Not being able to sit with uncertainty, and that anxiety is what causes so many problems to begin with. So part of, getting closure is like, you don't want to sit with uncertainty. You don't want to sit with the anxiety of not knowing. And that's what we're trying to teach you to do, is if you learn to sit with uncertainty and anxiety, then you're not going to need closure from somebody else's words, which could change, or their ideas or feelings could change, right? So you learn to become more confident. And that's what we hope that you all can do.
Exactly.
Hopefully this one's been helpful to you. If you'd like to get our help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name at the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.